Happy Sunday, everybody. It is the third day of Dripping Springs Christmas. Chris Peshek, broker associate with the Dripping Springs home team at Peshek Properties here. And I am here with my all-time favorite dog trainer, Miss Andrea Lang with Lang Canine Obedience. Hey, Miss Andrea, how are you?
Hey Chris, I'm well. How are you?
Oh, could not be better. Little Sunday morning, 11 in the morning,
Super.
nasty outside. So why not talk a little bit about everybody who wants to bring home the fluffy pets for Christmas?
Yes, Christmas puppies.
Everybody loves a Christmas puppy, right?
Almost everybody loves Christmas
Almost everybody loves a
puppies.
puppy. But guys, the reason I'm sitting down talking to Andrea today is because not everybody knows how to deal with the puppy around Christmas, new puppy, and all the things that go into that, and the potty training and all the training. And like I mentioned, Andrea is a dog trainer. So the first thing that I'm going to do is talk. Actually, Andrea, I'm just going to let you talk a little bit about your business and how you operate, and then we're going to get into, hey, I brought a dog home for Christmas and it was a surprise because, everybody wants the dog with a bow on it. And we'll get into kind of how to deal with that. So tell us a little bit about Lane Canine Obedience.
Sure, absolutely. So, Lane Canine Obedience, I am an in home dog training service. That means I travel to my families, their homes, and we work together in the quiet of their living rooms. The reason that I do this is because dogs and puppies, especially, are very easily distracted. And so, if you try to teach them in an unknown zone, a place that isn't in their comfort zone, they're more likely to be distracted by everything that's going on around them, and they just don't learn as quickly. So I find that it's easier to work with the pups in their environment. So that way they focus exclusively on what it is that we're doing that day. More importantly than working with the dogs, though, I'm training the people. It is important that people realize that nobody can really do the work for you when teaching your dog listening skills, and that's ultimately what you're doing when you're training a dog, is teaching them how to listen to you. So the people who live with the dog are the ones who need to be doing the teaching. I I always like to organize my lessons into thirds. The
Okay.
first third is teaching the family the science behind training dogs. So that way they're aware of the proper way to teach a canine brain. They learn very differently than humans. So we can't teach them like humans. We have to actually teach them like dogs. So you'll
That's
learn
one of my
canine.
shortcomings. I try to reason with Charlie.
Yeah, they're not unreasonable. You can't do that. The second third of our lessons is me teaching the new skill to the dog. So I introduce the new command or the new skill to them. And then the very last third is teaching the family how to practice what I just spent time teaching the dog, giving them homework and teaching them how to work on that skill throughout the week. So that's just a quick rundown of what I do. And I service Dripping Springs area and the surrounding areas to an extent. So I go into Circle C and things of that nature, but mostly Dripping Springs.
And so what you're saying is it's important for both or three or a whole family of owners to reinforce things the same way and to say the same things and kind of expect the same results. Is that important? Is that what you're saying?
It's not important, it's crucial. Yeah, if the family isn't doing everything identically, the dog gets mixed signals. Ultimately, we're trying to teach the dog what to do in challenging situations. And if one person's telling them one thing and one person's telling them another thing, the dog doesn't know specifically what is the right behavior. So it's up to us to be consistent so they know exactly what we want from them.
And I guess for the owners too, and I do it. I'll if there's a stressful situation for the owner, sometimes they'll forget what they want the dog to do, and I guess that's kind of a reinforcement thing. Like, do you want the dog to sit? Do you want him to stay? Do you want him to leave it? What do you want them to do? And so I
Yeah.
guess just again repetitiveness for the owners.
Yep, yep. And I have exercises that are actually specific to teaching human brains how to fish for the right word in the right scenario quickly. Because oftentimes we get surprised by an unknown distraction and then we get flustered and we don't know exactly what to say. So I've developed exercises that teach the humans how to be able to execute that.
That's the way, and that's the reason I'm laughing is because we both we struggle with that. Like, damn it, what was I supposed to say? And Charlie's looking around like, what do you want me to do? I don't know.
Mhm.
So kind of continuing down that path, and again, we're talking about people potentially bringing home pups for Christmas. So we get it a lot because we're out with Charlie, and people see that. And one of the common themes that we get is, oh, I wish I could bring my dog out to breweries or to Home Depot and things like that. So talk a little bit about, again, I'm assuming it's crucial to start at a young age with them to kind of, train and reinforce that. So talk a little bit about that. How can people set that expectation with their pups?
It's all about exposure,
Okay.
socializing, but making sure that your dog is safe before that process. So dogs have to go through a certain protocol when it comes to their vaccines to make sure that they're
Right.
very safe in social settings, so they don't pick up on pathogens and contagions and things that could potentially make them sick. So we want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration. Now, a family with a very young puppy that is under vaccinated may still socialize and expose their dog. But we need to do it in a safe fashion. So we can take our puppy to Home Depot, but we hold them the whole time. They
Okay.
don't hit the floors. So that way they don't come in contact with dirty feet that
Uh,
might bring in a bug that the puppy then would lick their paw and then have giardia or, get kennel cough or something like that. So we can still expose our puppies as long as we're following, good safety practices.
okay.
But there's a window. There's an actual scientific window, the best time to socialize and expose your pup. And that's before the 12th week of age. The reason
Wow.
it's before the 12th week of age is because, well, like humans, it's easier for our brains to learn languages when we're developing that language part of our frontal lobe. And so puppies are the same way. If they're exposed to these things while their brain is developing that exposure skill, then it's solidified in their brains.
Okay.
A mistake that I see so many families make, though, they expose their puppies young. They do exactly as they're supposed to. And because their puppy did well, they assume they didn't need to
Uh,
maintain that.
Stop reinforcing
Um,
it.
Bingo. Again, it's just like languages. I could learn a different language when I'm a child, but unless I use it, I'll lose it by my adulthood. So just because your puppy doesn't mind their feet being touched now, or your hands in their food bowl now, or strangers now, doesn't mean that if you don't maintain that it'll stick in adulthood. So that's a mistake I do see a lot of families make.
Okay, so let's go. And guys, by the way, Dr. Smith, Amanda Smith, was supposed to be on with us today and could not make it. And so I want to kind of go down the route like where she fits in. You mentioned the vaccinations and all that and how important it is, but you also mentioned 12 weeks of age in terms of getting dogs exposed. So
Mhm.
do you know? Can you speak a little bit to kind of what that vaccination schedule is?
Sure. Yeah. So the first round of vaccines should typically be done during the 6th to 8th week of life.
Okay.
Many breeders and shelters, if the puppies are born in the shelter, will give that around the 6th week. That's also usually when they do the second deworming. So they just want to make sure the puppies aren't getting any type of worms from mama's
Right.
milk or whatever the situation may be. So by the time families bring their puppies home, they should have at least one round of vaccines.
Okay.
They should get the second round of vaccine no later than 12 weeks. And so by 12 weeks, your puppy is very under vaccinated unless they've had their second round of shots. And by the time they've had that second round, they're pretty safe.
Okay.
Um, the reason dogs or puppies need multiple rounds of those vaccines is because their mama's antibodies are what's helping their
Hmm.
immune systems. And we can't tell when those antibodies die and the vaccines take over. So there's
Gotcha.
boosters to make sure there's never a space in between where they're super vulnerable.
Okay.
But we can't pinpoint when those antibodies are gone and when the vaccine kicks in. So that's why they're done every 4 weeks.
Okay.
Most vets will do 3 rounds and then your 1 year round after that. So about 3 to 4 vaccines in concession is typical.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then in terms of getting them exposed before 12 weeks, that's important, but that's why you said we want to be holding them when we go into stores, not necessarily exposing them fully, but just exposing them to the lights and the people around and the noises and things like that.
You got it. And when
Okay.
selecting a young puppy, you can also ask the person who was raising them when they were in their infancy what type of processes they used to expose these puppies to sounds and strangers. Many good breeders, quality breeders that are actually trying to improve the quality of the lineage of the dogs, they'll bring their puppies through a variety of different exposure exercises. They'll
Hmm.
have these little, I guess, areas or rooms with lots of sounds and
Okay.
different textures of items and things like that. And shelters and foster families will also do the same thing if their puppies are whelped in a home.
Gotcha. I was about to say, I would assume a shelter pup is going to be exposed to a lot of different noises and things like that, and strangers and stuff. So that's kind of a good thing for a shelter, I
It
guess.
is usually, I mean, shelters typically try to let moms give birth in a foster home. If that
Oh,
is an
okay.
available option, they're going to do so in the safety of a home where they don't have all of those outside influences that make it stressful on a pregnant mom.
Okay.
So the majority of them are born in homes. The mom is the one who was being fostered and then gave birth to those puppies in a home. And those foster families are usually very knowledgeable about how to expose puppies in their early stages of life.
Okay. That makes a ton of sense. So now let's go fast forward a little bit to what you and I were talking about before we came on live, which is, I my kids are at school all day. I'm at work all day. My puppy needs a playmate. So I'm going to get two puppies right away and bring them both home together. So let's delicately talk about that logic.
This is a very controversial topic,
Okay.
one that as a trainer, I see a lot. Two puppies at the same time. Not all dogs will end up getting this, but the majority of dogs that I do work with in this position end up developing what is commonly known as litter mate syndrome. And in very quick terms, litter mate syndrome is what happens when two young puppies bond with each other very intensely. And the reason they might do this is one, because they were built-in friends being from the same litter.
Mhm.
But two, puppies play rough. They play with their teeth. They're very nippy. And humans don't like that. So puppies learn very quickly that playing with humans is not as fun as playing with other puppies that do enjoy that level of rough play. Puppies love to get bit and they love to bite. So when we bring two home at the same time and we don't give them ample separation to bond and play with humans and to learn to enjoy that style of play, they don't bond with humans as well as they could. This could create shyness, timidness, aloofness. It could create a dog that just doesn't really give two hoots about their human family. They exclusively want to spend time with their companion.
Okay.
Well, fast forward after a few months, usually we start to see that there's a codependency issue. And typically, this is when the dogs get spayed and neutered because it's their first time having to spend time apart to heal. They have been so conditioned to spending every waking moment together that they don't have coping skills as independents. They don't know how to soothe themselves. They don't know how to entertain themselves. And they're not really fans of their families, the humans, because they're not as fun as their puppy playmate. So then we start to see some separation anxiety because they're not spending time together. If we address it at this stage, we have really great results typically as long as the family follows directions. The directions aren't easy, and so the family has to be very diligent about making a conscious change. If it isn't addressed at this stage, the typical development of litter mate syndrome is many years down the road. So we're fine. We can mitigate the separation. We just let them spend time together and make them happy. But then many years down the road, these dogs haven't had a break from each other. And they start to get on each other's very last nerves very easily. And they
Just like siblings.
or spouses. If you can imagine, spending like a 2-week vacation constantly around each other. And by the end of the week, you're just kind of snappy.
I don't know what you're talking about, Andrea.
Never. So then we have a situation where the dogs start to fight. But because they've never been taught how to be separated, they also experience separation anxiety. So they have severe anxiety when not together, but anger when they are together. And it's such a rush of different emotions that it makes it very difficult for the family to manage. In almost all cases, one dog has to be rehomed. But because the dogs have never spent time apart, those families are also forced to have another dog. And then it kind of perpetuates and starts all over again. So as professionals, we are always going to recommend that unless you are a very, very, very experienced puppy owner, not a dog owner, a puppy owner, and you know how to leave two puppy separate lives, it's always recommended to just start with one. Your family will thank you for it because it's half the work. And your puppy will thank you for it too because it'll give them ample opportunity to bond and also be an independent.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if the recommendation is only bring home one, but a family really would like
Mhm.
two dogs eventually, what kind of separation timeline are we looking at? I mean, is it like a six
Yeah.
month thing? Is it a 1 year, 2 year?
I prefer that it's done for the first 2 years of life because that
Okay.
is when their brains are fully developed finally. Finally, it is no longer growing and changing. Instead, it's now kind of its adult brain. Essentially, what I recommend my families to do, and I have lots of successful families do this, many that I'm working with right now. So it's not impossible to have two puppies. It's just 3 times the amount of work because you have
Okay.
to work with them individually and together. So it's
Okay.
3 sets of workloads. So basically, what it looks like is creating a schedule to where puppies only have playtime 1 or 2 times a day. They get very limited exposure to each other. They have to be on opposite sides of the room and can't see each other when they're crated. So I usually
Wow.
recommend that we put the crates on opposite sides of the house. So that way they learn how to soothe themselves to sleep. They learn how to eat by themselves. They learn how to chew by themselves. And then they have together time, but it's very, very, very controlled. We want to make sure that they don't go, oh my gosh, puppy play is so much better than playing with a human that I don't want to play with humans anymore. So they have to have way more alone time with their families than they do together time. And that's why I say a lot of families find it hard to do.
Yeah.
And so they're not as successful as they should be. And then we start to see early stages of litter meat syndrome. But if families are very diligent about their puppies living separate lives under the same roof, then it's totally doable.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
It sounds like an absolute nightmare for me to try to keep up with that.
I mean, I
You
wouldn't
know,
choose to do it personally, but
I would be the sucker. Like, okay, fine, go play. You know,
go play.
that would be me.
And it's a detriment to the dogs. It's very easy to just let them entertain themselves. So I tell my families, if you envision your dogs cuddling and playing and being each other's very best friends, you have a human ideology about what you want to happen that is not at all what actually happens in the canine world. And it's actually not good for them long term. Mhm.
And there you go.
Very controversial.
Sorry, and I'm sure you're sorry to be the bearer of that bad news, but people
It's never fun.
don't.
Yeah.
Not a good idea to bring home two pups. Don't bring home two pups, even though they're so cute, and you just want to keep them together because they're siblings. Yeah. Okay.
Right, right. And this is
Very.
not exclusive to litter mates. This could be two puppies brought home around the
Yeah.
same time from very different families. I've also seen it, not in as many cases, but I have also seen it with a puppy that is bonded so well to the older dog in the home that they've created
Oh
their own
wow.
version of that codependency issue. While not technically litter mate, it's not exclusive to brothers and sisters. It could be just dogs that enjoy each other over humans.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Okay. Okay. Any other kind of last second tips for bringing a dog home? We're going to bring a dog home for Christmas for the kids. Any
Yeah.
last second tips?
I have two.
Okay.
The first one is don't wait to set your vet appointment. Make
Hmm.
sure that you set up your vet appointment for the very first week that you bring your puppy home and pre-schedule that. Call the vet clinic that you want to work with. If you don't have one, Springs is a great one.
Love Dr. Smith and her
Love
crew. Yep.
Dr. Smith and her staff. Yep. The reason I suggest this is because if you plan on hitting the ground running with training, we need 2 rounds of vaccines. We need your dogs to see the vet to make sure they don't have worms or any type of upper respiratory infection, that they're healthy enough to begin training. Us trainers, we see so many dogs that we don't want to bring something in and give your immunocompromised baby
That makes
a bug.
sense.
We also don't want your dog to have worms. We are unaware, and then we pass that to the other dogs that we see throughout the daytime. So, for the safety of everybody, set up your vet appointment for the first week. Make sure your dog has 2 rounds of vaccines before you start letting them socialize nose to nose with other dogs or hit floors in high traffic areas where other dogs have frequented. But human socialization is super. The other recommendation that I have for puppy owners, especially during this time of year, keep your puppies on a leash at all times unless they're in their kennels. I cannot say this enough. It
Around
is
the house, you got, I guess, all the stuff
let
that
them
you've got
drag it.
around.
Let them drag it around your house.
Oh,
It's so much easier to step on the leash and reel the puppy in that just stole an ornament off of your tree than it is to play keep away around your living room. And puppies
interesting.
love keep away.
Yeah,
I hate
they
keep
do.
away. It's not a fun game. So in the event that your dog grabs something that's potentially dangerous, you should be able to quickly get that. And the only way that's possible is to let your puppy drag a leash around. I personally choose to have my puppies drag leashes around at all times, unless they're kenneled, until they're 2 years old.
Wow.
I know this sounds like a really long time, but it's because every time they jump on the counter, you can correct it. Every time that they steal something, you can grab them. Every time they jump on a person, you can stop it. We can mitigate 90% of frustrations if your dog just had a leash on. So that is my second recommendation. See your vet and drag a leash.
That is absolute gold. Now I'm going to make I guess it's a differentiation here. So again, you do not do boarding for training, anything like that. You are simply in owners' homes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, and I know that you trust this other trainer as well. So I'm going to say, if you need to send your dog somewhere to board with a trainer to get that type of training, oh shoot,
Diana,
I know, but what's a good dog in training?
A good dog in the making. Yeah.
A good dog in the making. Golly, see, I had it in my head. Yeah, but Diana Ozimek, a good dog in the making. That's the type of training she does. And she's another outstanding trainer, does amazing work with dogs here. And she is local to Dripping Springs. Again, the whole idea behind the 12 days of Dripping Springs Christmas is to remind you to spend your money locally. You don't have to go to Austin to get dog training. We've got amazing trainers like Andrea and Diana here. So make sure that you're doing that. And plus, it's a lot easier for Andrea to come to your house than it is to try to find somebody from out of area. So
yeah,
there
that's
you go.
true.
Last thing, I'm going to remind everybody, the shirts are the official shirts of the 12 Days of Dripping Springs, my naughty shirts, which come from my happy place in Wimberley. So look, who would not look good in this when you go home for Christmas? So there you go, a reminder. Put your money where your butt lives. And if you're bringing a dog home, start the training early and start the vaccines early. Give Springs Vet Care a call. Give Miss Andrea a call. And you're going to have a dog that you can take and play with Charlie at the brewery. So there you go. That's what everybody wants. All right, Andrea. Thank you, ma'am. Guys, we're going to be back here tomorrow with the fourth day of Dripping Springs Christmas. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, Chris. Thanks.